Clara had always kept her job at the luxurious City Hotel a secret from her husband, Luke. Ever since they had started having trouble making ends meet, she knew she had to do something about it. She never could have thought that their two worlds would collide in a manner such as this. It happened when she overheard a reservation being made under her husband's name for the hotel's infamous Love Suite. However, on the day of the reservation, Luke mentioned that he had to work extra hours. If the reservation wasn't for the two of them, then who was it for? But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Clara had taken the rather high-paying part-time job just before she and Luke married. At first, it had been to help pay off her student loans with a smaller side gig, but as they started to have trouble making ends meet, she continued doing it for their life to be a bit more comfortable. She would never have thought that their worlds would collide in the way that they would. She had been clocking in for work when she had heard the receptionist talk about the hotel's infamous Love Suite. The room had every amenity that a couple could ask for. A large see-through shower, a jacuzzi, rose petals scattered everywhere, and an extremely large bed. The receptionist had the schedule for this week open, and she couldn't believe what name was scheduled for Thursday. It said Luke Green. That was their last name. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. It was on a Thursday too, which made it even worse because she knew what he had told her about this upcoming Thursday. They didn't have anything planned for this Thursday. There was no upcoming anniversary, no birthdays, no holidays. This could only mean one thing in Clara's mind. She knew she had to find out. Of that, she was certain. He had told her that he had to work extra hours this upcoming Thursday. Originally, she had believed him, but now she knew better. The drive home was quiet. She had to ensure she was ready to face Luke without tears forming in her eyes or any other shenanigans. She took a deep breath before she finally exited her car. "It's time to face the music," she said to herself as she made her way to the front door. The home they had bought together was beautiful, and it pained her that it would most likely have to be sold soon. "Honey, I'm home," Clara said as she entered their home. It was a small gimmick they always did if they knew the other was most likely home. Throughout the day, Clara's eyes followed Luke like a hawk. She noted every phone call, every text, every little smirk or frown that crossed his face. But nothing seemed amiss. How could someone planning infidelity be so ordinary? As evening fell, they sat together, lost in a show neither was paying much attention to. Clara's mind was elsewhere, analyzing every word, every gesture from Luke. In bed, Clara lay awake, the silence of the night echoing her turmoil. The day had brought no clarity, only more questions. The morning air was brisk as Clara, clad in inconspicuous attire, set out on her covert mission. She trailed behind Luke, keeping a safe distance, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. But as the day wore on, her hopes of uncovering infidelity waned. Each passing moment felt like a missed opportunity, yet nothing seemed amiss. As the sun began to set, Clara made her way home, her spirits low. The day's surveillance had yielded nothing but normalcy. As Thursday approached, Clara's anxiety mounted. She found herself distracted, her mind constantly drifting to what the day might reveal. Clara sought solace in confiding her suspicions to a close friend, Emma. As she poured out her fears in the haunting discovery of the reservation, Emma listened intently, her eyes reflecting a mix of concern and resolve. This act of sharing her burden lightened Clara's heavy heart slightly. Emma, empathetic and pragmatic, agreed to help Clara in her quest for truth. Together, they formed an alliance, united in the pursuit of uncovering Luke's secret. Seated at Clara's kitchen table, she and Emma spread out a map of the hotel and began their strategic planning. As dawn broke, Clara rose with a sense of resolve. She dressed quietly, her movements deliberate and purposeful. She left for the hotel with a firm resolve, knowing that whatever the day held, she was ready to face it. Clara and Emma, now unrecognizable in their disguises, entered the hotel with a mix of trepidation and determination. They split up, taking strategic positions where they could watch without being noticed. From her vantage point, Clara observed the flow of guests with an intense focus. Each couple that entered raised her pulse, and each lone individual drew her keen eye. Every time the door opened, her heart skipped a beat, but as the hours passed without any sign of him, the suspense began to take its toll. As the day wore on, Clara's initial conviction began to crumble. She found herself questioning the entire premise of her suspicions. Clara's thoughts were muddled, a tangled mess of suspicion and regret. Had her quest for truth led her astray? The shadows of doubt grew longer as she grappled with the possibility that she might have misjudged Luke and her actions entirely. The next, she was overwhelmed by sadness, the pain of potential betrayal cutting deep. Confusion soon followed, muddling her thoughts. As the hours dragged on, Clara contemplated a more direct approach. The idea of confronting the situation at the Love Suite loomed large in her mind. With her heart pounding in her chest, she stood up, her resolve hardening. She was nearly determined to confront the situation head-on, to step into the unknown and face whatever consequences lay ahead. Just as Clara was steeling herself for confrontation, her phone vibrated, abruptly cutting through the tension. It was Lukey. His voice, familiar and warm, jolted her back to reality. He asked where she was, mentioning he'd finished work early. Clara's heart sank. His unexpected call threw her plans into disarray. Clara's emotions spiraled as she spoke with Luke. With the call concluded, Clara's confusion morphed into a sense of urgency. She needed answers, and she needed them now. Gathering her things in haste, she left the hotel, her mind set on confronting Luke. Clara arrived home, her emotions a tangled web of fear, anticipation, and a desperate need for clarity. Clara faced Luke, her emotions cresting like a wave. The words spilled out, a torrent of confession about her surveillance and suspicions. Clara's heart ached as she laid bare the turmoil that had consumed her, the guilt of her actions adding to her emotional upheaval. Luke, recovering from his initial shock, revealed the true purpose behind the Love Suite reservation. His words came slowly, explaining that he had booked the suite for his best friend, who wanted to surprise his girlfriend. Clara listened, her heart pounding, as Luke described how his friend shared a bank account with his girlfriend and needed secrecy for the surprise. Luke continued, his voice calm, explaining that he had used his credit card for the reservation to help his friend keep the anniversary surprise. He had never imagined it would lead to such a misunderstanding. As the truth sank in, Clara felt a mix of emotions, relief, guilt, and a deep sense of remorse. Clara admitted her error in not confiding in Luke about her job at the hotel. They acknowledged the need for openness in their marriage. In the quiet aftermath of their emotional revelation, Clara and Luke engaged in a deep, open conversation. They discussed the vital importance of trust and honesty in their relationship. It was a moment of introspection and vulnerability, with both acknowledging how easy it was to let misunderstandings fester when communication faltered. As the story of Clara and Luke drew to a close, they stood together, their love and commitment reaffirmed. The trials they had faced served as a reminder of the fragility and preciousness of trust. They looked towards the future with hope, understanding that an open and honest relationship was the key to a lasting and fulfilling marriage. Hand in hand, they stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, strengthened by the lessons they had learned together.